Welcome back, Generals, to another Let's Fix Generals 0 Hour to make the best game ever. Good, so what do we do? We've done a lot of reviewing the last couple days. Now I think we need to get back here to our camera changes, which we have not yet finalized, but I think that's important to get done because the camera is important and the camera has a lot of problems. Okay, so let's open W3D view and close the other tabs. Good. So let's. Unfortunately, it has been a few days, so I forgot already what we were talking about. I think it was about we need to update the. We need to update the. We need to update the camera height, the ground level height. But that causes problems with the way the camera is zooming, right? Ooh, desired zoom. Oh boy. Yeah. So let's go to the update function. For some reason I can't open it. No, it doesn't work. Updates. There we go. Okay, so it's here. So we want. Oh boy. First need to get an understanding again of where we were. So we made changes to how the pitch works, base pitch, yeah. Yeah, so this was our initial source position. Yeah, and then we multiplied by the zoom here. And then we built the additional angle and pitch transforms on top, and we rotate this source position by these matrices, and then this one is commented out. Source vector height to achieve the intended height. This was about clamping. Like right now it would get too high, right? I think that's a problem. So it needs to lower the height again, yeah. For legacy reasons. Okay, set default. Yeah. Anchor. I wonder if this should also say 37.5 instead, maybe. Yeah. Camera set default angle. Yeah. Maybe this should say 37.5. Is that really necessary though? Yeah, I think it is, yeah. Yeah, okay. Deprecated. Right. Deprecated. So here we have this. So to put that here as well. Yeah. Just ground level. Yeah. Right. So this one right now will adjust the ground level, which will look bad, right? So let's look at how things are currently looking. So I think the way it looks right now is bad. It does update the pivot position, and the map border will be okay, but the way the zoom will work will be awful. I think that's the current state, right? So we need to somehow fix that. So let's open a DEFCON map. DEFCON 6, there we go. And USA, yes. Can we also have some issue here? I can't remember why that happened, but it's probably related to the pitch somehow. I can't remember. Just the ground level. Why did that happen? I can't remember why this one would show here, but it means that something is wrong. Yeah. Okay, so, but as you can see, if we now the behavior is not good. Let me sell the command center. it feels awful. It feels really awful. Yeah. But at least the edge behavior is proper, so that's good, right? So we always can scroll correctly to the edges. Well, this one is a bit far away, isn't it? Why is that so far away? I'm not sure. It shouldn't be that far. Okay, so there's something wrong as well. Here it's okay. But when we rotate, it's not okay. The pivot point looks okay. Yeah. Yeah, the pivot point looks okay. Yeah, I'm not sure why we can look so far out here. It's not the way it should be. Yeah. Oh, man. Okay, so this clamping here is important. Oh boy. But I think this one caused issues with the pitch. When the pitch is too small, then this one scales very poorly, right? Yeah. So, yeah, so adjusting the ground level will have the effect that the zoom into the view direction no longer works properly, right? So let me. That's an build. Why can't we? Why does this no longer work here? Huh. We have a debug session running, maybe that's why. So there is build camera transform, or this one, right? So we scale here by the zoom, which right now is always 1. We do this here, which doesn't help. When the pitch is low. Let's test again with this here. That's weird. Okay, so it's interesting that the on the radar the cone doesn't become smaller. That's weird. So there's something wrong with the way the cone is being created. I think. How do we solve this? So now if we change the pitch and we go here, then that's not good. Not sure why is this happening. So the pitch goes low, but pitch. Because this becomes ever smaller. this number becomes let's say it reaches 1. So this, when we go to the ground, when we pitch towards the ground, this one goes closer and closer to 1, and then it would be 1 minus 1 is 0. And that's why we get closer to the pivot points when we pitch down. I wonder if this is wrong then. Yeah, ground level. One minus that. I wonder why this wasn't a problem with Gentoo, where we also changed the pitch and there it seemed to be fine. I can't remember how it was implemented there. Just changed the pitch value somewhere, or multiple ones, and then it worked. Let me put here black screen for a moment and load up the Gentoo code. I want to see what values it tagged. Oh boy. It's loading. Okay, let me try to find, so there should be a function somewhere called pitch. Set pitch. No? Just search for pitch. Pitch. Man. So there's camera pitch here, set camera pitch. It changes something in game data ini. So in global data. Set camera pitch. Let me see. Set actual camera heights. Camera pitch. Reset camera. Okay, so it sets the camera and then it calls reset camera. Change camera. Game data ini. Okay. Good. So let me get the view back here. So the only thing Gentoo does, it goes to global data and it changes here this camera pitch value, this one. And then it calls reset camera, which is this function here. That's all it does, really. Which essentially, yeah. So it doesn't work. I think the pitching in Gentoo, it doesn't change. It doesn't change this here. So this one, it never rotates with this kind of thing. Interesting. So it basically it puts a pitch in here. Always. Okay, let's say we do that. What will happen here? Angle. So let's say here angle this angle minus base pitch. Angle plus base pitch. Let's say base pitch plus angle. There we go. Not angle, pitch. So now it would go always through that. Okay, let's see how that looks. Angle transform. And then, yeah, this one will be 0. So we don't do, no, not angle. Pitch. Yeah, okay, so let's see how that looks. Yeah. Oh, looks awful. That looks really, oh shit. That looks even worse. Huh? Oh man. That's awful. Huh. That's really bad. Final pitch 1. That's also weird. Huh. Huh. 1 pitch camera. That's weird, yeah. I wonder why it's so weirdly overhead. It's not this function. It's this one. Okay, let me take a look how it currently looks in Gen 2. The camera pitching. Does it actually look proper or not? I'm stunned that it somehow worked in Gen 2 without big troubles, but now when we touch the source code, there's so much troubles in there. So that's weird. Yeah, I can't remember what I did here. It looks so easy. I just set the pitch in global data and then call a reset camera. Oh, that's a wrong executable as now. This one, please. It looks kind of okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that's surprising. That is surprising, yeah. It'd be interesting to go even lower. Let me look at it one more time. 100. I wonder if I broke something else. It acts really weird. Factor, ground level, source pod Z. Ah, so I took this position before. Right, so we have changed that now. Right, that is different. Oops. Right. Right. So it had factor here, and then multiplied it here. Why did I put it down here? I can't remember. Okay, so we have pitch here, and then we remove this again. Okay, this looks good, I guess. But on the radar, it looks super broken. How does that happen? Why does it look so weird on the radar? That's extremely weird. It's completely at the wrong location. Could be that What does get pitch return? There should be a get pitch, right, somewhere. Is that pitch? Get pitch? No? Pitch. Get pitch. M pitch. Current camera pitch. Okay, let's ignore the radar for now. That's okay. Okay, but so this works. Yeah. Okay, and so if we scroll here, the pivot point is correct. Okay, good. So at least that is sorted. So we just don't change the way it originally worked there. Good, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, so the pivot point looks good. The pitching looks good. The default camera height looks normal, I would say. Yeah. Now, yeah, we need to sort the zooming, and then the radar we can do last, figure that out. Okay, and then I think we still have a problem here with the map border, because when we rotate the camera and we go to the other side of the edge, then suddenly we can look much further in there, and I don't understand why that is. That is very strange as well. It shouldn't be. Why did that happen? That's strange. Let's see if that happens on other maps as well. This one. Mountain Guns. Well, it's a lot of mountains here. Let's take something more flat. Let's take Twilight Flame. Classic. Classic. Okay. And then set the command center. So that looks good. And now here we rotate and... Okay. Well, that's interesting. That is unexpected, isn't it? I don't know if it's, maybe it's in the original game also weird like this. Could be. Right? Let's see how it is in the original game. Maybe it's just another bug on top. Yeah. I guess if it's okay with the default camera rotation, it's good enough for now. But ideally, it would look always good. So let's... Okay, so here things... Yeah, look okay. And let's... Oh my gosh, it's so fast. Oof. Let's set the FPS limit to 30. So we rotate the camera around, and then we go to the other side. And yeah, here we can look further. Okay. Maybe it's still related to... I don't know. Let's see DEF CON. DEF CON. Yeah, and then we rotate. Scroll down. Okay, we can also look into the black, but not as far. But still, we can look, yeah. Okay, so it's an original bug. Yeah. I'm inclined to say that it's an original issue. It's just that we can't scroll directly to the map edge. There's like a gap here. But we can scroll still further than we can scroll at the bottom, right? So like here we see the blackness, and if we go down here, we can't see the blackness, but we have around the same distance here, right? So I think it's a legacy issue. Yeah. Looks like a legacy issue, just something on top we need to address eventually. But not a big deal, I would say. Not a big deal. Okay, so let's get back to this. So the pitching is okay. We need to sort the zooming. That's the crux of it. The zooming. Yeah. Okay. And then let's add a comment here. So the zoom. Let's call this const. Height scale. Let's make all these consts. How we count, not the position. Okay, so the pitching situation I think is all right, but the zooming situation not. What do we do about it? Zoom. That is not easy. think we need to somehow alter this position. Target position. Can we do source pos plus equal target pos? Would that work? Yes. Then we can remove this here. Yeah, so basically this is translate to world space. Maybe what we can do is, so I think this is kind of zoom here, this and this zoom. I think it's the right approach. We want to effectively zoom like this, but we need to update the pivot point to the new ground level. Maybe. So let's see. So move. So we move down the ground level. Pause. We need to. We need to somehow. So we change the ground level, which changes the height of the source pos. This here. It's ground level plus this camera height. Yeah. So camera zoom doesn't work anymore. Just realize. Yeah. Camera zoom because we removed it here. What? I think zoom is broken because we changed this. That could be. Camera heights. Let's try this. Nope. Why not 2. No, okay. Solo skirmish. Okay, so we need that for the zoom. Yeah, this does gracefully zoom, but we have a bad pivot point. Can we maybe fix the pivot point in a different way? I mean, so the ground level is taken here. Ground level, height scale. Ground level. Yeah. So this will suppress. I think this here is directly responsible for this. What happens if we remove this? I don't have the smoking gun yet on this, but there must be a solution. It's just I just can't think of it yet. No. But there is a solution. Somehow we get there. Okay, so now we have the cameras pretty high. So the pivot point looks good right now. And now we go down here and the pivot point is still bad. Okay. Okay, so that doesn't have the influence. So the pivot point, basically the pivot point doesn't change. The pivot point is the ground level. Yeah. Pivot point is the ground level. Yeah. Maybe. Maybe we can modify this target position here, but maybe it will look weird. So let's say we scale this here, the target position. Could we do that? It might look weird, I guess. I'm not sure. So how would we would have to work with the zoom? Ground level. ground level. So basically, if we have a zone, height scale, target position. Maybe we also scale this by the height scale. Maybe. Maybe not. Okay, that looks already weird. But okay, let's roll with it for now. Yeah. Yeah, it looks weird. So that's not it. At least it looks consistently weird. Okay. 0.72. Right. What it doesn't have. Right, so this factor is probably always the same, right? No matter we're here. No, it's not the same. Height scale. Huh. That's a bit suspicious. There's a pivot. There's a pivot. So height scale. I still think that the scaling here is super weird and it makes us shady. Let me remove this for now and let's just let's just have yeah. I find this super weird. The scaling here. It seems to work and with the original setup, but I'm not quite sure why. It seems so weird. Okay, so the pivot pose is okay. The height is also okay. Right. Yeah. The height is fine. Mm-hmm. So okay, let's just test for now without this here. I still haven't figured this out. This is bonkers here. Good. So zoom situation. Now, I wonder if you can somehow modify this ground level here for the target point. So essentially the pivot point, we want this to be at the real ground level. Ground level. So yeah. So this is not the real ground level. fast. Yeah, and then we would, maybe we should say target pass, source pass, target pass. Yeah, ground level. Yeah. Maybe, so let me try something else. Let's put this back to plus x dot x dot y plus xy. So I'm wondering if we have ground level. Sets. So essentially, we put this at ground level, but we can, but maybe we put this at terrain height under camera. So that's a real ground level, right? Let's see what this is. So the target pass is at the real height. Yeah, so it's, but then it will look, then it will change the pitch, right? When looking around. So I think this won't work correctly because the pitch will change now when we change elevation, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Yeah. It does change the pitch. It will retain the pivot point, so we always look at the ground for the pivoting, but on the way we change the pitch. See? Because it has to look further down, and so it affects the pitch, so that's not right. And it looks awful. Yeah, it looks really awful. Oh boy. This is a sure way to make players vomit. Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah. Oh. 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 Yeah. Okay, but it would fix the pivot. Can't have it all, right? So we somehow, maybe we need to get the difference between these two. So ground level divided by terrain height on the camera. And this one. height diff. So we have a height diff. Target position. This position refers to what? Get position. Ground height ratio. And then then we would add so put this here. So we would add the source pos x times ground height ratio. Oof. I'm not sure about that. So this value needs to, if we lose elevation, then this ratio ratio so when these are the same, this should be 0. So we would need a 1.0 f minus this thing. So when they are the same, it's 0. Fair enough. And let's say this one is higher. This one is, let's say this one is 300 and this is 200. Then we will multiply this by a negative value. 300. Let's just test this. I expect it will look totally bonkers. It's really a hard problem. Oof. Okay, it looks very wrong. Yeah. Let's see at the ratio here. So the ratio is minus 1.5. So it's pos. Try to hide on the camera. It's still how do we know how far we would need to shift this target position? I don't think it's a matter of scale. I'm not sure how to calculate that. So basically the idea would be to shift the target position depending on we also needs the pitch also needs to account in there. Yeah, I think. So does it make sense? So the target position. Wasn't there already a helper function that did that for us? I think there was some other function that did a similar thing in here. This one, get pick ray. Find x at z. We can probably use this function, right? let's try that. So target pos x, y. Find x at z. So, but this is restart. So essentially, this one is the one we want to find. This is Z. Yeah, and then so the source position, ground level. Okay, so let's say, so this is the original vectors, right? So let's say here a real target X, target Y, and so this one is the start position, and this is the target position, and this will give us a new target XY at this Z, yeah, maybe. And then, so how does this math work? Somehow. Somehow, yeah. Okay, and then in here we do then target, so then we modify the X to this. And then the target and target Y here. And then the target, what is this? Target pos Z will then be this Z. Yeah. Okay, I'm not sure if this works correctly, but basically the idea would be to so this essentially this minus this is the look direction, right? The view the view vector. And so what if we change the target position and shift it by, you know, the height? So instead of ground level, we shift it to this, but that means we also need to update X and Y because these will shift as well in relation to the view direction, right? So this is what this tries to achieve here. I don't know if that will work correctly. And so the idea would be that then the pivot point would be corrected, maybe? I don't know. probably doesn't work. I don't think it works. So right now it's fine. We go down here. No, it's not fine. No, nothing has changed. Let me put a breakpoint here. So, oh, why is this 0? Okay, so the ground level is at 0, yeah. One 1.875. 1.875. 1.875. Huh. 1617. 16. Huh. Huh. X, Y. Z. X, Y. X. 1461. 1617. So it does change it, but then look at source target. Okay, I'm surprised that there's no effect to this. Let me set the command center here. So everything looks pretty normal. Yeah. Looks pretty normal. The pivot point is there. Target position. We probably... I mean, if we would now shift both of these, that doesn't make sense. I think target pause, it does nothing other than affecting this view direction here. I don't know, we can ignore this here, yeah. So yeah, I think modifying this, it has no effect because the view direction remains the same. Yeah, so we would need to modify this source position. because Z determines the camera location. Here, position. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure how to solve this. Maybe. So here we can get a delta, right? So we can have const real. Delta x equals delta y and delta z is, yeah, well, we don't need a delta z now. And then we would do that, and then we would essentially shift it here, minus, I'm sure, minus or plus equal delta x. Delta y. And then we would do the same for source position. Yeah. But that sounds a bit weird. I'm not sure if the mass is correct. If this delta is correct, maybe it needs to be target x minus this, and then here minus, I don't know. Let's test this. I can't wrap my head around this. Okay, well, that's certainly wrong. Okay, so source plus target x. This is wrong here, and it's to delta z, target z minus, no, this is delta z, source plus z. Let's try that. delta z. I think we can do a vector 3 delta vector delta vector Okay, that doesn't look right. So target X, target Y, delta vector X 104, this and that. On the camera plus. Yeah, so it reduces height by that much. Okay, that doesn't look right. So it's so fast that minus y. I think ground level. Okay, like the height should be correct now, I think. Not sure about XY. Not sure about anything really. Okay, so the height looks good, but the position is totally wrong. position is wrong. So essentially at the when this is 0, then these should also be 0, right? Yeah, okay, this looks promising. Yeah, so this should they they should be all 0 now. Let's see. 0, 0, 0. Yeah, okay, so this looks correct. And now, okay. Let's maybe sell this here. Okay, it does zoom in there, but the pivot point is still wrong. Okay, so basically it now zooms in with this way. Okay, but the pivot point is still bad. Because we did, okay, let's, I can't wrap my head around this. We need to somehow change the pivot point. Let me remove the zoom again here. Yeah. Let's remove the zoom for a minute. So now the zoom no longer has any influence. Well, it changes the health bar. Okay, but so basically the zoom now comes from the math we did in the updates. But the pivot point is still wrong. Okay, that's unexpected. Why is that? So we shift both by this delta vector. I currently don't understand why the pivot point is not changed. We move. Wait, so we move both the source and the target vector position by this new delta here. We should affect the pivot? No? Oh man. It should affect that, no? Pivot points. So the transform, the source position and target position. What makes a pivot point? Well, so if we well, if we update the position, both of them, moving both at the same length. Oh man. I'm not sure where we're going here with this. The hope is that we can somehow shift position of these vectors to put them into a nice position where the pivot point is then properly on the ground. That's what I thought we do here by relocating X and Y to the actual terrain height on the camera. And then, yeah, have the pivot point there. But that doesn't work. So that sucks. I can't wrap my head around right now why that is. So essentially we move. So it's like, it's a different way to implement the zoom. So we no longer scale the source pos, but we relocate. And and that doesn't help. Why not? We need to somehow get a good idea here. Yeah. Well, could it be that it's always 0? So if we are here, no, it's not 0. Oh, it is 0. But not this. Minus 120, yeah. Yeah, so we shift the Y position, which makes sense. And the Z position. Yeah. That makes sense. But somehow it doesn't affect the pivot point. I don't understand how. The pivot is here. There. Here the pivot is properly in the center. Here. Here it's not. Oh, why? Why? Oh, man. I can't wrap my head around this. So, if we relocate both vectors, both positions, I mean, to the new position, so the target pulse here, the target pulse is now at Z0, right? So it's on the ground because the terrain height on the camera is 0, right? So this thing, the target pulse, right now should be right on the ground. And the source pulse is shifted the same way. So why is the pivot not on the terrain? Something I'm missing here. Something I'm missing. Source. The source at the target position is on the ground. It clearly must be where we're looking at, otherwise that camera would be looking weird. I don't understand right now why the pivot is not where we're looking at. Like, the Z coordinate of the target is on the ground at 0. So we should be pivoting around that location. I don't understand. If the pivot was in the height, like 120, then yeah, I would understand. The pivot would be too high and then it would look weird, but that's not the case. We put the pivot at 0. Why is this still not working? Z is 550, which is pretty high, but that's fine. I don't understand. The pivot is on the ground. Is it not? Let me put a breakpoint on here, the transform. So source pulse, 430. This one is at 0. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man. I don't know. What is this 0 here? Roll. Interesting. So I really don't understand why the pivot is not where we're looking at. It's at the Z0, which is the current ground position. So should be working. I don't understand. My brain is not made for this. Why is the pivot point? What happens if we change the pitch? So the pivot point is still fine. And here it's not. Looks like a searchlight here on the radar. Yeah. Okay, why is that happening? Is that because this position is relative to this. This position is relative to this, right? Let me see how this value is being updated here. I think it's done in update function. Somewhere here. Here. No. Aha, so this is relative to that. Okay, I think I start to understand. So the position right now is in relation to this, but we have now shifted it in relation to this. Okay, what happens if we have this at 0? What happens then? We just shift the height. But then it's effectively, yeah. Well, this will again give us this weird up and down movement, right? And not the zooming. Yeah, so this won't help. Yeah, that's doing nothing. No. That's doing nothing. Yeah, this is identical to just changing the ground level, really. Yeah. So the pivot is correct now, but the movement is totally jank. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Can we do anything else? How do we solve this? It needs to move up and down, but towards the view direction, not on the z-axis. That's not right. Just updating the ground level is no option. If we update if we update here with delta vectors, it essentially does the same as the zoom which we do up here. So it's just another way of implementing more complicated. Yeah. Oh man. So we need to zoom. Yeah, let's put this back in. We need to change the height. The Z must be at this point, because there we want to pivot. Yeah. So we want to move. I can't wrap my head around if this is even possible. So we move the camera, and here it would zoom in then in the view direction. And we somehow need to adjust the position. Oh man. I think these are contradictory concepts. Changing the height and the zoom. They are contradictions. We can't have both. Either we change the height by moving into this view direction, or in the z direction. Yeah. I think they're just conceptually contradictions, but then how can we solve this? Oh, I don't know. I don't know how to solve this. because we can't have it both ways. We can't zoom into not the pivot point, but then at the same time zoom into the pivot point. Then it doesn't work. But how do we solve it then? Like, how do we scroll over the terrain gracefully, zoom in, zoom out, and have a good pivot point? We can't. Oh man. Ugh. We can't have a pivot point. Yeah, maybe I'm just struggling because it's impossible. Maybe it's just impossible to solve. Man, that's unbelievable. I don't know how to solve this shit. There must be some way, but I just. Maybe there's no way. It's a major pain. Yeah. It's a major pain. So if we had a top-down camera, then it's fine, right? Because the pivot point is always straight to the bottom, no matter the zoom. So that's not a problem. But as soon as we have a pitch, it becomes a problem. Yeah. I think I need to think about this more, but the more I think about this right now, my impression is it can't be solved. Because we can't have it both ways. We can't zoom in and. But why? So if I move the camera here, it just looks awful. pivot point. Oh. 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 So the pivot is a problem when interacting with a map border, but also when rotating the camera, right? Because this, well, this we have it fixed now, right now. So now it looks okay, yeah. Well, fixed, quote unquote, at the expense of shitty movement. Yeah, the pivot. I'm surprised that we can look out so far here. It's kind of bad that it pushes the camera when changing this. I can't think of a way here. Yeah. That looks also weird. Looks like it's fighting. It wants to move out. Yeah, I think I will take a break here. But before, I would like to see if this edge behavior is also in the original game. That looks suspicious. Probably introduced by this change here. Because it does change the way we interact with the edge. It doesn't just stop there, but it wants to push into and then out of. Yeah. So I suspect that doesn't happen in the original game. It's unpleasant. Yeah. Doesn't happen here. Oh boy. Yeah. Good. Yeah, I don't know right now where we're going with this. It's a bit tricky. Yeah. Good. I will take a break here. I wish you a great day or night. Until next time. Goodbye.